hopefully.
Hopefully.
Dan, it's my pleasure to interview you today as skipper of our most illustrious of all sides, the first, as it were.
Yes.
And I look out this morning and I just think to myself, sunshine is perfect.
Well, apart from
cricket weather, apart from the snow, yes. Yeah. So it's been a bit of a strange morning, really, in that respect. But I'll tell you the thing which I've noticed. I mean, I've been sort of on and off around the club, as you know, over various years, more so in the past. But I kind of wanted to get back a bit more this time. One thing I've noticed, which wasn't the case back in my old day, as you were, people are practicing more. People are in the nets on Saturdays, Sundays, afternoons, everywhere.
Yeah, I've been...
Including Vish, who I think has set up a tent.
Well, I mean, he was there filming himself in the snow yesterday. I think they were there on New Year's Day, brushing snow off the nets in 1 or 2 degrees at the start of January, so I've never seen anything like it.
What does that tell you about the attitude in the club? What do you think?
It's been great. Driven by John and Vish mostly, and they've got a really good group together. They've got a little WhatsApp chat, and whenever anyone's around, 1 or 2 of them go up there, 10 of them go up there, depending on when everyone's free. It's been really good seeing it. It's creating a real positivity around the club, and not just having it as a summer venture, but they've somehow managed to keep it going all through the winter, whatever the weather.
I mean, I keep harking on about Vish. I think Vish is the keenest cricketer I've ever seen in my life.
I think you might be right.
I mean, just there is no comparator. He's absolutely amazing. Last season he had a fantastic season. I was there when he hit his 1,000th run. I think it was there against Groombridge.
Yeah, I can't remember the team, but yes. And
he got to 1,000 and then retired. And Camille says, "I'm just adding this up, and it's only 999." It wasn't. But it's that was a good fun day as well.
Oh, it's a great moment.
And it's
a good achievement.
So, what sort of age did you start playing cricket? I mean, I was going to say, I'm tempted to go into my aged bit here and say, I remember him when he was a little lad.
6 or 7 when I first went to Bowling Green. Yeah, when I first went up there would have been a Saturday morning then, that I think all the coaching was.
So who were the coaches then? I'm just trying to
when I first went up there, it would have been Brooks, who was doing our age group, because I'm the same age as Ash, so he was doing Ash's age group, and then Dom a little bit. But throughout the time, Brooksy sort of went the whole way through with us, and then my dad did a little bit, not coaching, but of sort of management. I was with John Bennett, Lee Bates' dad, John, as well.
Yeah, first time I met him was actually the golf day a few weeks back. Yeah. But I didn't know who he was. I hadn't seen him before then. I know who Lee is, obviously. I've seen him there. Yeah,
no, John used to muck in a bit because the age groups, you always played with an age group above every other year. So Lee was in that other age group above, so whenever it was our turn to be the younger age group with his year, then John would join in with Brooksy and they'd do it together.
I was just trying to think which age group. I'm thinking back, the ones I remember, the particular age group, the time when Jacob was about 13, was he was in the Bs, I think it was, and the A's had players like Carlin Tapp, as I recall. I think he was in there.
Finnegan, Mark Kernan and Callum Saker,
that was
strong age group.
That really was quite something to decide. It was, and it's funny, isn't it, how I've always tried, during the times I've been able to, for various reasons, to try and catch a bit of whatever's going on at Cowsley Wood and at the nursery ground here. Mm-hmm. So, sometimes I'll go to one, and it depends who's serving the better tea, frankly. This is the thing.
Yeah, I suppose normally, I think, as a cricket club, I would say our standard of tea is quite high compared to
I think it is, yeah.
some of the others you go to where it can be a bit ropey. Without naming names.
Yeah, I was going to say that. I don't want to have the lawyers woken up by this. But we played one team, I remember years back, where they had a tea which nobody wanted to eat it at all. No. And the whole team appeared to be related to the same individual. They all appeared to be from the same gene pool.
That's what you get playing a bit of village cricket. I suppose you get some interesting.
There are some very village people out there.
There are.
in that sense. But so I managed to dissect. I think what was Dave Pearson's first innings when it was for the club in the year 2000 when he was from the scorecard, which of course Jockey has produced this, what must be the biggest archive of cricket results ever.
Not far off. Yeah, he's done a lot of work on it.
He's done a fantastic job. He
That's
really
brilliant.
has. It's I managed to piece together his Dave Pearson's first game from the scores, and it has him run out for 6, and the players that were left at the end were Jockey on 1 and Dom. So Dom was basically running out as far as I could.
Dom does do that to people. It's sort of an induction to Belgian Green. If you haven't been run out by Dom, you're not really a member.
I should to one occasion when I gave out. Sorry, not on the subject of Dom, but I gave Julian Aaron out with one of my many shocking umpiring decisions, and there are a few. And he I said, I'm sorry about this. He said, no worries, John. Next home game. I tapped the thing behind me or whatever. He calls for a run, and he called for the run when he was about 3/4 of the way down the pitch. And I swear to God, he says, yes, yep. As he went by. I had not a hope in hell of making the ground.
Bit of revenge.
Yeah, well, and how, yeah, it really was. But, I mean, the great advantage of being skipper of the first, it seems to me, is that you have a pretty clear idea who your side's going to be each week.
Well,
and obviously that gets the more variables the further down you get. But
to a point, I mean, recently we have had pretty, and myself included in this, unfortunately, for various different reasons, but our availability has been not great. I mean, last year we used, upwards of 25, 30 different players played first team cricket in the league last year.
So we normally have a much tighter nucleus than that, don't we?
Yeah, so ideally that should be the case, but with losing players often in the winter, people going off to either move to London or go and play the highest standard they can possibly push themselves to, it has meant we've sort of been a bit more flexible, I suppose, recently, and we've just had to have everyone muck in, and you've got juniors with exams and things, so you don't get them until later in the year, so that some of the promising guys that we want to have come in, you don't see them until July sometimes. So yeah, it's been a bit more of a mix and match recently, but hopefully, speaking to people and with me being around a bit more this year, we should be a bit more settled.
Well, Johnny Allen was saying exactly this, that it's something that one needs to think ahead on. It's not just a case of a week by week availability. You want to get a picture of whether some guy's going to be around for 2 months.
Well, I mean,
this kind of thing. So you know that you can pick and be confident.
It would be nice, but realistically, it's a village cricket club. If someone gets an offer, if they said 3 weeks ago, oh yeah, I'm available, but in that meantime that they've got someone's 40th birthday or their mate's 18th or whatever it is, I'm not expecting someone to turn that down because they told me 3 weeks ago that they're going to be playing for me on a Saturday. That life happens, things come up, events come up, and people always drop out.
Yeah,
it's the way of life. We're not in a position where we can force people to come to training or drop people if they miss 2 or 3 weeks. I don't think anyone want us to be a club like that. I don't think that's how we're good. I don't think that's what our strength is at all.
I think we're good is exactly that. I think the one thing which I've always, when people say about Belsley Green, they say 2 things. It feels a large number of teams, so it's obviously a very big club, which we are.
Yeah.
And they can't find Belsley Green on the map, on any ordnance survey map, because it's so tiny. And they can't work out the difference. Why we have this tiny village, but this amazing, large. And it's also large, but also it still thinks like a small scale club, but on a massive scale.
Yes.
If you see what I mean, I'm probably not making it clear.
No, you are. But I think that all has to do with Dom and Andy.
Yeah.
I think that they've been members for God knows how long, and they've basically built it in their image. The right way to play, all about the juniors, pushing the countless hours they put into that to get people playing, to get people keen, to get people playing the right way.
I always think Dom particularly, I think we touched on this, I think maybe with Dave Pearson, I can't remember exactly which one of the skippers it was, but they made the point that, and Dom has a phenomenal ability to make everybody feel important
He does.
wanted. And I remember him discussing aspects of technique with me, and I thought, Dom, it's me. There is no point in discussing technique. But it made me feel good that, the fact that he actually asked my opinion. I'm sure it'd be, meant not one job, but he had a way of doing that.
He will mean it. He is enthusiastic about cricket.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter who it is, what level it is, what age group it is. He wants to see people playing, and he wants to see people getting better. So he does care, and that enthusiasm can't help but rub off, really.
I think it's, I've been asking, I said, various of the skippers. Not all of it made it onto film necessarily, but if they had to put together, who are the players that you've really enjoyed playing with? We talked a lot with about dressing rooms and about having the right people in the dressing room. And, people who, the team's up against it, but are going to take that step forward.
Well,
ready to.
Dom was always the first person for that. When I first came into the ones at sort of 13, 14 probably. So I might have played my first game at 13, but batted 11 and fielded fine leg all day. But Dom was always the man for any crisis.
It's a great one for motivating the juniors as well.
He was always as supportive as you could hope for as someone coming into the team. But no, in terms of someone you always wanted to be there, it would always be. No one's as competitive and wants to win as soon as you get out there and Dom. And I've been in many a game as I started to get older and open the batting or whatever, where we'd have 3 or 4 of us at the top that were younger and thought we were quite good, and we'd go and get nothing on a tricky wicket, and Dom would come in and be 60 not out, and he'd come in, win the game, shaking his head, telling us we've got no discipline and why can't we bat like him. It's all about graft and concentration.
Well, he had. He has a very good technique, I think, it seems to me, for minimising risk, getting the runs, picking off the easy runs first, taps here, nurdles there, and then you think, before you know, he's on 20, he's seeing it bigger.
He knows his game very, very well.
He builds an innings, I think.
He does,
he goes up through the gears.
He always has a plan. He knows where he's strong, he knows where he's not so strong, so he tries to find singles where he's not so strong, and then he's got a couple of boundary options, and he knows every time how he's going to play depending on the game situation. He's one of the best situational players I've played with.
I think I agree with you entirely. I think he has an ability to, as I said, I've seen him at the beginning of innings, and sometimes he's really very scratchy, edgy, just not looking right. And he'll tap the runs away, and here and there, and I say. To 20-25, you're beginning at that point to put pressure on the bowlers. The guy coming in from the end, thinking, well, how exactly do I get this guy out? He's not offering me any opportunities.
No, he always puts such a high price on his wicket. Getting Dom out is always an achievement.
But I think it's all, but at the same time, his actual strike rate is relatively low. You have a much higher strike rate than him. I think you're saying about 60 something odd.
Well, I think that the strike rate on the website's a bit fluffy because there are so many games where it's not recorded. So you can. I'm sure Dom's got loads of games that are on there. We can get 5 off 30 balls, but if you get a runnable 100, it won't be on there because it was 30 years ago.
Do you remember your first 100 in detail?
My first 100 in detail, yes, fair amount of detail.
Go on then. Let's hear it.
It was against Chevening at the nursery ground on a Sunday. I think they're Surrey way or somewhere. They're a rambling side. That they don't have they're a nomadic team, I think. We played them on a Sunday. I opened the batting, and someone that I played with in my age group, Freddie Clark, played for them on the day because they were short. So I think we played 10 aside, and he opened the bowling and.
I was going to say he's a pretty brisk bowler.
He was a handy bowler.
And he's damn good. Let's face it.
So I got through that. Managed to go through, and I was actually facing him on 95 or 94, and I hit one straight up in the air, and he dropped a caught and bowled. He took it and dropped it, and then I hit the next ball over his head into the field for 6 to get to 100. That was my first one, and then I scooped him the ball after my 100 for 1 bounce 4. And their captain...
That's showboating.
Their captain got quite cross with me.
I was going to say, I would.
Which at 14, I was like... I've got my first 100. It's my mate who I'm facing. I've done it as a joke. It's a Sunday, so he got quite annoyed at me, and then I got dropped 5 times after that between 100 and I think I got 138 or something.
Well, your top one is 145.
145. That sounds about right.
145. Yeah, I think.
Sounds about right at Lawton.
It's funny. I mean, the big scores. Well, this is one of the more comical moments in the sense of having a massive highest score ever of 27.
Yeah.
And this was basically whacking some of the junior bowlers.
Oh, that's
around.
right. Still got to score the runs.
Runs and runs. And I asked Jacob what he remembered of that game, and he said samosas. I said, what do you mean? He said, great samosas at tea time. I said, do you happen to remember your father got his high score?
He's focused on the important
Didn't
things.
register, not one shot. But it's, I mean, the other thing I want to ask you about is, one of the things I always used to enjoy playing cricket was other people's grounds, and sometimes, I mean, some people play in these amazing, beautiful billiard table pitches and things
we
like
are lucky, obviously living in quite a nice part of the world.
Yeah.
You do, and playing village cricket, because you do go to some towns where it's recreation grounds. It's not quite as nice, but there are a lot of very pretty little village grounds that we get to go and visit. Yeah.
We went to, I remember one game where Jacob was playing. It was this under 15 game, I think, something like that, at Paddock Wood.
Oh yeah, yeah. Paddock Wood's not great.
I tell you what, it was just. I mean, most of the local ruffians decided to come out and watch the game.
They normally do.
And we had a couple of women who decided to go topless.
Oh,
at the end of the bowler's
that brightens up Paddock Wood now then.
I said, these lasses in question were the size of walruses. One of our bowlers was stammering for days after.
A traumatic experience.
Not even permanently damaged, but I mean they really were useless. They kept wandering off into the changing room, and I thought to myself, we're going to help themselves to our wallets here. But,
that's not very unsavoury of.
I know. And we should stress, of course, that Paddock Wood is a lovely place to live, in any case.
It's not.
Don't go there. It's a good thing these... actually, I wonder if these videos can be viewed by people in Paddock Wood. Better not put that down as a search term, anyway. But, okay, so I mean, as I said, I've got a great idea over the last few chats as to different ways the skippers have of treating their players and kind of geeing them up. And it seems in the way that the first, you have the easiest job of all, because if they're not motivated, then nobody ever will be.
Pretty much, yeah. I mean, I think a big thing to remember about cricket is that it's an individual game played by a team. So everything you do on the day is individual. If everyone individually plays well, you're more often than not you're going to win. So
it's all about individual pairing battles, isn't it?
Yes.
Bowler batsmen, particular ones.
Yeah, but in terms of like motivation, I think it is very much up to the individual to have that personal responsibility and pride that you don't want to go out there and not perform. You don't want to let your side down, but you also don't want to let yourself down. You're paying for the privilege of playing. You're giving up 6, 7, 8 hours of your day. It's on you to want to do that and want to perform to the best of your ability. So I think
best 8 hours of your life.
It should be. But obviously, if you have a not so good day, then some are more enjoyable than others. But no, motivationally, I don't think there's a one size fits all approach either. Sometimes some people you need to just tell to butt their ideas up, and they respond well to that. Others you need to sort of get them through harder periods and let them know that their place in the team is safe or whatever, and that they're...
One of the things I've noticed about the first, particularly over the years, is they don't collapse. When
we do.
Well,
no, we do.
You can't collapse like we do. The fours we can produce biblical.
No. I remember 2 or 3 seasons ago we were playing at St Peter's down in Brighton, and we were 191 for 3.
Okay.
And we didn't make 200.
Well, that's impressive.
Yeah. So
dark sort of way.
I think it was that season that the first team middle order as a collective won the Bowen Ball for basically collapsing with such regularity that it was getting beyond ridiculous.
But in general, it doesn't occur.
Well, obviously, it should happen less, definitely.
But the Falls, we had a general rule that every wicket that fell, we'd have the next 3 guys padded up. Collapses could occur, at any moment. There was no single position from which we couldn't buckle under the pressure. Now, we've been having a bit of a discussion about cakes as well over the thing, and. Apart from Stephen Huggett, who's thrown the coffee cake idea into the mix.
No, I'm not a coffee cake.
No, I think he needs to be told. If you want to speak straight to camera and tell Steve this.
Steve, coffee cake's not it.
Sorry, mate. I did give you a chance. Anyway, the debate is the simple one, which is fruitcake or Victoria sponge.
Victoria sponge all day long.
Absolutely.
We have
2-2 is the score, is the final score, and I have the casting vote, and it's therefore Victoria sponge all the way.
Correct, the only choice. Best part of a cricket tea is a good Victoria sponge.
Well, this is another thing, cricket teas, don't get me started. I had this real thing about it, that particularly, last year when people were bringing their own sandwiches, I think this is just wrong. Everything's wrong about that.
Well, I think that's sort of continuing to this year. It's now
it's got to be stopped.
You can agree with the opposition if you want to do tea or not. Dan, there's no mandatory.
Dan, you are the skipper of the first.
Yeah, but that's part of the problem. Is not having tea saves me a headache a fortnight because getting people to do it is never the easiest.
This is the thing, though. It's always occurred to me that captaincy, particularly in the Fours, as I said, the captaincy in the Fours meant if you were responsible for the tea, if you couldn't lay anybody else on.
Yes. Fortunately,
it had nothing to do with fielding positions or bowlers. To do with just making sure the team is there.
Fortunately, if it ever does fall on my shoulders, my mum is normally very happy to do it, and she does it very well. We normally come out all right if that's the case. But no, I do agree. I think it is a good tradition and a good part of the village game.
I tell you, we had one magnificent tea in the Fours years back. I can't believe it's even to this day, but they turned up with trestle tables. One of the parents of one of the boys, and I'm not going to say who. Again, it's a fantastic tea, but they turned up with they put out 2 trestle tables, tablecloths over them.
Oh, fantastic!
Hang on. And I have no idea what they actually charge the opposition. But things like lobster tails.
Blimey. That's a bit
much. It was magnificent, but just completely unrelated to the event. But so we're obviously looking forward to the next season. So if you had a general message, as it were, from the club, as it were, for the players, what kind of?
Well, I think.
What would you say?
Well, I think it's important that we try and up our availability a bit from last year. Myself being at the forefront of that, and then I think the if we can consolidate ourselves, obviously Ian moved on to Buxted, if we can take that loss and consolidate ourselves in the division we're in, that would be a good season. John taking over the twos, he's obviously got a really good camaraderie going down there. And then I saw a bit of your interview with Dave, and he's right. Ideally, we want to get the threes promoted.
But he talks about trying to close the gap on the twos, isn't he?
Absolutely, yeah. So that would be the overall goal. But at the end of the day, as I say, we all pay to play because we enjoy playing cricket. So everyone makes sure they should get out there and enjoy it first and foremost. But obviously we all have our individual goals we want to achieve. But I think that should sort of outline how I would like to see the teams go. Anyway,
I think the thing which it seems to me that we don't particularly do is collectively as a club is watch other people's games. The juniors particularly, I think it's the case. The mums and dads usually, let's be honest, come down and watch their own sons and daughters playing cricket. They don't necessarily think, well, there could be other games on that would be worth watching.
But that's life.
You get to know more people.
Of course you do, but people are busy. It's often parents can't even make it back from work to watch their own son play, so they're not going to nip out to watch under-11s game necessarily.
Well, I remember we were Kent games years back. We were fundamentally operating what was nearly a minibus service to take the team.
Oh, no, absolutely.
And we even talked about getting a minibus for the club at one stage.
But that's where we're so good. We do rely on some people heavily, but we have so many people that are willing to put the time in and make sure that kids especially are getting cricket. It's fantastic.
So just to finish up, do you want to give a shout out to any particular players who you think you want to who you think are going to have great seasons, landmark seasons?
Season.
Or breakthrough seasons?
Toby Tapp, I would like to continue he had a brilliant season last year. He's sort of arrived on the first team scene. He's obviously always been a great prospect, but last year he really stood up and became a proper, reliable, high-class player.
I tell you, Toby Tapp he's got the right stuff. He's a good lad. I remember, him 5-6 years back. Cheeky chappy, certainly very much so.
Very quiet but excellent timing.
Fabulous spinner, not so much a batsman, which now he's turned into a really excellent batsman.
Yeah, I think
he's a really nice guy.
I've got a lot of time for Toby. He's
turned out well, I think they'd say.
Key part of our team for sure.
Yeah.
And then I'd also like to tell Ashley Brooks to play a little bit more cricket this year.
I can't remember who it was. It was probably actually Dave. Now I think about it, wanted to see Tom do a bit more cricket.
I think we'd all like to see Tom do a bit more cricket.
I remember watching up at Belsey Green in the seniors match, and it was getting on in the evening, late on in the evening, and Tom was bowling from the nets end. And I tell you, it was the fastest over I've ever seen delivered in that club.
Tom's a serious cricketer.
He is really fast.
He's a serious cricketer, but unfortunately we never see too much of him. But
you're always going to give up the football. It's nonsense.
I do keep telling him.
Play cricket, Tom. Get on with it. Dan, absolute pleasure.
Really good. Cheers, John.